Hello and welcome to Catalyze Music Academy. My name is Zaak Kerstetter and I'm an Ableton Certified Trainer. And this is going to be the very first video in a series of videos I'll be doing called Learning Live 101. And these videos are going to be kind of designed specifically for people who are really excited about making music with Live, who have just gotten started. They've either just got the trial version of Live or that they've just purchased Live, and they're feeling really intimidated by the amount of knowledge it takes just to get started. So I'm going to be releasing at least one of these videos a week in addition to all of the other videos I'm already making for this channel. So if you are more of an intermediate or advanced Live user, I would go ahead and check out some of those other videos that I have, and I will be continuing to be releasing. But if you're brand new, this is the place to be. So I'm going to be focusing on the questions that I get asked all the time from people who are brand new, and hopefully I will be able to save you some time and headache when you're first getting started. And today I want to start off by taking a look at the session view, which is one of the most unique and powerful parts of working with Live, and how you can utilize that to just generate some ideas really quickly and really easily. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, so when you first open up Live, it should look something kind of like this, where you have your tracks over here. We have our 4 tracks and what looks like kind of like a spreadsheet in here. This is called the session view, and this is the main thing I want to focus on for right now. And this stands in contrast to the arrangement view, which you can access by hitting the tab button. Arrangement view, it looks like this, where you have your tracks laid out in a horizontal fashion. And when you hit the space bar, you can see the playhead moves from left to right. So if you're coming from another audio software, another DAW like Pro Tools or Logic or Reason, the arrangement view should look fairly familiar to you. It works fairly similar to a lot of those other softwares. However, the session view, and you can use the tab key to get back and forth between the two, is going to be a little different. It allows you to have what's called a non-linear workflow, which is hopefully by the end of this video, you will understand what that means. So to get started here, we have 2 different kinds of tracks. We have 2 MIDI tracks and 2 audio tracks. For right now, we're not going to be dealing with MIDI. There's going to be separate videos on both the arrangement view and MIDI coming later on. So I'm going to go ahead and select those 2 MIDI tracks and hit delete to get rid of them, because I want to be focusing on audio. So in order to start playing with these audio tracks, we need some audio to work with. And to do that, there's a couple ways you can get some audio. The first way that I'll recommend is if you are using either the trial version of Live or the suite version of Live, you have access to lots of Live packs. So you can access them by going over to your browser, which is this area over on the left side, clicking on packs. And if you scroll down to the bottom, there's a folder here. You can click on this little triangle, and this is going to give you access to a bunch of packs that you can download. These packs are full of all kinds of different content. There's full of samples and presets and effects and drum racks and all kinds of fun things. So you can click on these little download buttons to download it. Once it's done downloading, you can click here to install it, and that will put that on your computer, and that will give you some more content to work with. And all of these Live packs will automatically be kind of distributed into your categories up here, which we'll talk about in just a moment. If you either already have these Live packs and don't want to be using them, or you don't have access to these Live packs, you can always go online and just Google free sample libraries, free sample loops. There's tons of websites that have them. The main one these days is called Splice. It's just splice.com, and you can register for like $7 or $8 a month, and they give you access to thousands and thousands of samples that you can search through, and you can download the ones that you want. And that's where most people are getting their samples from these days. So grab some samples either through the Live packs or online through Splice, wherever. I don't really care. Just grab some stuff to work with. Otherwise, you're not going to have very much fun. So if you're using Live packs, like I said, all of that content gets distributed into your categories. So things like your audio effects and your instruments and all that stuff. But I want to focus specifically on the samples folder. The samples folder is going to be just audio files. So again, these are all from your Live packs. So if you don't have a lot of Live packs, you're not going to have a lot of samples here. So I can scroll through here and I can like click on these guys and it'll preview for me. However, I have way too many samples to go through. I can't like search through all of these just manually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to the very top here and use the search function. And I'm going to type in, for example, drum. And any sample that's in my sample folder with the word drum in the name is going to pop up here. And again, I can click on it and it'll preview for me. And I'm using the spacebar to stop that preview. So I'm going to scroll through here and try to find one that I like. That sounds pretty cool. Keep in mind that some of these will be one-shots, so it'll just be like a single sample, which we can use, but for the purposes of just getting started, we're not really going to be dealing with those. We want to find samples that are going to loop. So let me go ahead and click on some of these guys. Cool, I like this sample, So I want to go ahead and use this. So I can add this to my session by just clicking and dragging it into any of these empty boxes right here. So each one of these boxes is called a clip slot. And when you add some content to that, whether it's audio or MIDI, that becomes a clip, an audio clip or MIDI clip. If I want to see what this looks like, I can just double click on it and it'll show up at the bottom of the screen and we can see the waveform, or if it's a MIDI file, we could see all the MIDI notes. And if I want to play this, we can just hit this triangle right here and that's going to play it. Let me turn down a little bit. If I want it to stop, there's two ways to make it stop. I can either hit the space bar, which is what I just did, and that will start and stop every single clip in your session simultaneously and instantaneously. Or I can hit any of these squares right here. So the square button being kind of like the international symbol for stop. Any one of these, if you have clip slots in each one of these, there always will be a square button right here. Then if I want to play again, I can just hit play here, and then it'll play. So as you may have noticed, when I hit both the play button and the stop button, it blinks for a second before it either plays or stops. And that's because all your clips in your session view are going to be quantized to your global tempo. Your global tempo is accessed right here. So right now, every single clip in my session will play at 84 BPM, and it's going to start and stop at the start of the bar or the end of the bar. So if I want to hear what 84 BPM sounds like, I can hit this button right here. This is our metronome, and we hear that clicking in time with our beat. Now the way this works is the high-pitched beep is the start of a bar, and it counts in 4. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, and then high-pitched beep. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So if I hit play here, it's going to start it at the high-pitched beep, and it's going to end at the high-pitched beep if I hit stop. Starts on time. Ends on time. So it always starts on time and end on time. On top of that, I can always change my global tempo, so I can speed this up or slow it down. So if I want to change that, I can click here and I can either type in a tempo, or I can click and drag up or down. And let's hear what that sounds with the metronome. So if I click and drag up, it's going to speed it up all the way to 999 BPM, or slow it down all the way to 20 BPM, which is going to be very, very slow. So we're sticking around 84, so bring it back there. So if I hit play here and do the same thing with this playing, if I speed up the tempo, you can hear not only the metronome's getting faster, but also the clip. Or if I slow it down, all the way down to 20 BPM. It'll sound weird, but it stays on time. Like that. So the way this works is that this clip has an original recorded tempo. It was recorded at a specific BPM. And I know what that specific BPM is for two reasons. Number one, it says it in the name of the clip right here. It says 84 BPM. And if I make this track a little wider, we can see it's 84 BPM. But also down here, it says 84 BPM in what's called the segment BPM. If this looks a little different for you, it's because I'm using Live 11. If you're still using Live 10, this will look a little different, but it's basically the same thing. This is in a slightly different position, but it'll say segment BPM, and it will tell you the original recorded tempo of that clip, regardless of whether it says the name in the actual file. So this is recorded at 84 BPM, which means it's going to sound the best when I play it at 84 BPM. However, I can speed this up or slow it down and play it at any tempo that I want. So let's try this out with a different clip that's at a different tempo. So for example, if I click on this one was recorded at 74 BPM. So if I load this up just by clicking and dragging it, and I play the first clip, first off, you'll notice that it can only play one clip at a time, and this is pretty much always true. Live can only play one clip per track at a time. So if I want these two clips to play at the same time, they have to be on separate tracks, and I can just click and drag it to move it to a separate track. And now if I hit play on one and then play the other, obviously I'm adjusting the volumes here in the mixer control so I can hear both at the same time, but you can hear they both start on time, they end on time, and they stay on time, even though this clip was recorded at 84 BPM and this clip was recorded at 74 BPM. they're both being played, in this case at 86 BPM, and I can change that while they're both playing. And that's pretty much always true. You can load up any clips you want, regardless of what tempo they were recorded at, and they will always start on time, stay on time, and end on time. So let's take this knowledge and let's start expanding upon this a little bit. So I've got a couple of loops in here. Let's grab a few more. I'm just gonna grab a couple of these because these sound kind of cool. So here we got a bunch of different drum beats. These are pretty much all from the Beat Tools pack, and in case you're wondering, great pack, a lot of cool samples in there. So if you're looking for good drums, it's free, check it out. So I got a bunch of different drum loops that I can go back and forth between. But say I want to layer these up, say I want to add some like percussion on top of this. Let me just search for perk and see what pops up. Again, a lot of these will be one shots. That's not what I'm looking for. Let me search for perk, and then I'm also going to add BPM in the title, and that way things that have BPM in the title will also show up, meaning they'll probably be loops. So I can try these out. Sure, we'll try that. We'll try this guy, and I'm gonna toss this in this other track over here. We'll try this. And I'm not really looking for anything in particular. I'm just looking for things that I think sound kind of cool. There we go, something like that. So here I got 4 drum loops here, which are like kick, snare, hi-hat kind of sounds, and I got 4 percussion loops here. And this is where the non-linear workflow really comes into play. What this means is that I can play this clip here, and then I can kind of audition each one of these one at a time and see which one sounds the best with this drum loop. And then I can play this drum loop and then see which one of these sounds best with this drum loop. I don't need to commit to any combination of ideas until later on down the line. So we'll play on this one, and then launch these different clips. That one doesn't really work. That's kind of cool. We can also change the tempo here. See if that makes it sound better. Kind of like those two together. So say I like those two together and I want to start building a song out of that. That's really the idea here, is you can load up as many samples as you want. You can just keep adding more and more samples on different tracks, mix and match them until you find the right combination of 2 samples or 3 samples or 4 samples or however many, and then start building your track around that. Then later on down the line, instead of using pre-generated content, using pre-made loops, we can start generating our own loops, mixing and matching them together to, again, create the right combination of sounds to build the foundation of our track, and then we can start moving those ideas over to the arrangement view and lay them out from start to finish, have a beginning, middle, end, verses, choruses, all that kind of stuff. But for the purposes of using the session view, a lot of it is just kind of throwing things against the wall, seeing what sticks, and then kind of going from there. So real quick, let's expand upon this just a little bit more. So say I want to add like a bass line to this. I have drums I like and a percussion that I like. Yeah, just search for bass. And once again, I'm going to add BPM to the title so I just get bass loops instead of just bass one shots. And we'll see. These can be kind of hit or miss, so we'll see what we can get. Those are probably not going to work. So this one, I don't necessarily think this is going to work. I don't really fits the vibe of the drums I already have, but I might as well try it out. So let me just click and drag this. There's a couple ways I can add this. I can just click and drag into empty space, and that will create a new audio track for me. Or I can just hit Command-T or Control-T, and that'll create a new audio track. And you can create, as long as you're not using the intro version of Live, infinite tracks. So let's grab a few more. These are all very different vibe than what I have going on. Again, I don't think that'll work, but let's just get creative. Add that one in there. I need to find some that are a slower tempo. Again, totally different vibe, but we're gonna get. All right, we'll try one or two more because I'm not super confident that any of these are gonna work straight off the bat, and I wanna have a good example for you guys. That one could work, maybe. There's so many bass lines. That one's kind of cool. Sure, we'll try it. All right, so I got a bunch of bass lines here. Again, not confident they're gonna work right off the top, but we'll try it out. So let's see what these sound like. That could work. That could also work. That one doesn't work. If you don't like it, we'll just delete it, get rid of it. So a lot of different musical directions we could go with this, depending on which bass line we choose or which chords we use or which melody we choose. But we can keep on layering more ideas. And generally the way you want to do this is each track you want to be dedicated to a different set, like different musical concept. So again, drums are right here, percussion here, bass here, maybe I put vocals here, put a bunch of vocal samples, maybe I have a melody track, some synthesizer tracks, whatever. Depends a lot on the style of music you're making. So one quick thing we're gonna do here before I wrap this up is I wanna keep this organized. So you can always rename and recolor both your tracks and your clips. So if I want this to be called drums, I could just hit Command R, Control R, and just call this drums, and then hit the tab button to go to the next track. This is my perc track, and this is my bass, because it automatically names the tracks based off of the first clip that gets added to there. And then I can go ahead and delete this guy. If I want to change the color, you can just right click and you can pick a different color. Another fun thing you can do is you can right click and hit assign track color to clips, and that way they all kind of match. And you can do the same thing with individual clips. You can rename them and you can also recolor them. So if there's a combination of ideas that you like, you can also put them on the same scene. So a row is called a scene. So I can just click and drag to move this around. Say I like this guy and this guy and this guy together. I can put them all in the same scene. One thing to watch out for is if you drag a clip on top of another clip, it's going to override it and therefore delete it. So watch out for that. I can hit Command Z to undo that, but sometimes you might intentionally want to be doing that. Sometimes you don't want to do that. You can also do things like copy clips and paste them. I can copy and paste over here from one track to another, or create multiple versions of the same clip on the same track if you need to. Other than that, really, there's a few other things to interface that are pretty important, mainly this mixer section down here. This is really useful for obviously controlling volumes, as you saw me doing. We'll talk more about these maybe in a later video. We can also pan things left and right, so left side of your stereo field or right side of your stereo field. Let's go ahead and listen to that. So one speaker or the other speaker. You can also mute your track with this button here. So this is your track activator to start and stop it. And you can also solo tracks. So if you only want to hear one track at a time, you can focus on one at a time. Lastly, all of this audio gets sent over here to your master. So this will always be over here, and then all of your audio is coming out here to your speakers. So that's it for at least for this video. Hopefully you enjoyed watching that. Hopefully that gives you an idea for a context of what you can be doing. But I would definitely recommend first downloading some loops so you can toss them into your computer or toss them into your session view. Try to organize them by the kind of sound that they are: drums, bass, guitars, vocals, synthesizers, whatever. And then start mixing and matching them together to find the right combination of ideas to start building out your track. So that's going to be it for this video. Hopefully that gives you enough to sink your teeth into and at least get started loading up some clips, launching clips, stopping clips, looping things, putting things together in different ways so you can actually start building some ideas. Like I said, later on we'll be replacing these pre-built samples, other people's samples, with your own original content. But for right now, for learning the software, learning the ins and outs, I think this is a pretty good place to get started. So hopefully you enjoyed watching that. If you did, please feel free to subscribe to the channel. We're gonna have a lot more of these Ableton Live 101 or Learning Live 101 videos coming up real soon, in addition to all of the other videos we make as well. So again, thanks for watching, and hopefully I'll see you again soon.